There's definitely weeks where we lean a little bit more into reality, and then there's weeks where we lean a little bit more into um, the sort of ridiculousness of Night Court. And I feel like that episode was one of those slightly more old school versions of our show.
We have learned so much about your character over the past year or so. So I'm curious of what your initial thoughts were when you first read the pilot script versus your thoughts on her 2 seasons later.
So I was a recast. I was not in the original pilot that was shot. I came on later. And so the first I ever got of Olivia was sides, audition sides, which didn't actually end up being in the show. It was just kind of something to set up the character. And I got a sense of who she was straight out of the gate. But at the time, she definitely was, the word friend was not something she ever used, unless it was to get ahead. There were no real genuine connections being made. And she was, if anything, I think, very anxious by any conversation around a personal interaction. So it's been really lovely to have her now. We find her in a place where she does consider these people as part of her family, her work family, especially Gergs, I would say, for Olivia, is probably the closest she's ever had to a real friend, whilst still maintaining her ambitions and her caffeinated need to get ahead. So we keep a little bit of what makes her unique, but we allow her to bleed a little bit into the other characters in terms of their relationships.
I feel like Abby is not the type of person that Olivia is typically friends with, given how opposite they are, but that's part of what makes them so great. So what are your thoughts on how that relationship has evolved throughout these 2 seasons?
We've had some really sweet moments between Olivia and Abby, and I've really enjoyed those. Mostly because I love Melissa so much. It's been really lovely to get to hang out with her more on set because inevitably when you're in scenes together, you get to spend more physical time together. And being with Melissa is one of my favorite parts of this job.
A storyline that I thought was particularly fun this season was the unexpected love triangle between your character and then Pellino and Carnes. Yeah. How was playing around with those very different types of romances, but in the same 20-minute episode?
Oh, so fun. Paul Scheer and I we worked together on Veep a few years ago. So, and my husband and his wife know each other. So I already had a bit of experience of being in Paul's company, which is delightful and filled with laughter and dry humor. And Rob was also great. And the combination of the two of them they're just so funny. So I feel like that was one of the weeks where I laughed the most. And getting to flip flop between each character, it was fun. There's definitely weeks where we lean a little bit more into reality. And then there's weeks where we lean a little bit more into, the sort of ridiculousness of Night Court. And I feel like that episode was one of those slightly more old school versions of our show.
Yeah, well, we've also gotten to see a softer side of your character this season, such as when the doorman died and you really see that she did lose a connection. So how was exploring that side to her?
It was new. It was a challenge, and I like a challenge. I've been on plenty 1-hour shows where the job, a character's loved one passes or they're going through some kind of emotional experience. And so being connected with the emotional side of myself as an actor is not unusual for me. But certainly taking Olivia there is a departure from what I'm used to. So I really enjoyed it. And it was interesting. Ren Bell directed that episode. He's also our dialogue coach and a dear friend of mine. And I was so glad that was the episode he was helming, because he was able to help me figure out that path as authentically as I could for the character, whilst also having a ton of fun and keeping it Night Court.
Well, we are also getting pretty close to the end of the season. So if you guys have filmed it, is there anything you can tease about the Night Court finale?
I can tell you that Marsha's coming back. You'll be getting to see Marsha before the end of the season. I can't tell you why or what she's up to. We've got some fantastic guest stars this week. Where actually, this is my dressing room. I'm on set right now. So We just
So behind the scenes.
Yeah, this is my dressing room. I brought some stuff from home. And yeah, it's going to be, I think, exactly what you would expect from us. Heartwarming, all fun for all the family, a callback to multicams of days gone by, with the sort of fresh take of Night Court 2023. Hopefully everybody enjoys it, and we'll keep our fingers crossed for a third season.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. It was so lovely to meet you.
You too. Have a good one.